If you have questions, let's open it up. We're on your, we're here to help you guys learn something. So let's work together on this. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is turning the mobile device into a remote. This is the very first step that we all need to be thinking about in terms of where the future television is going. We're using our phone now as a computer. We're surfing the web. It's our camera. It's going to be the keys to my car. It's the thing that keeps my kids quiet when I'm at a restaurant. And we have to turn this thing into the remote for our televisions. It is the way that we are going to be able to truly interact quickly. So when I say mobile device, we're talking phones. We're also talking tablets. But making sure that we start to link these two devices together is imperative. And this is something that we need as advertisers. We need to push the networks. We need to push the networks and the cable and the cable providers to help us with, because once we make this link, and once the entire population has moved to this technology, or moved to this way of controlling their televisions, it opens up all kinds of possibilities for all marketers.
And these are just 3 examples of some applications that are actually already out there. As you can see, even Digit goes beyond just controlling your television. But, it actually allows users to control multiple devices in the home. And I think that, again, adds some real possibilities for advertisers on being able to interact with content, even if it's being played on like a DVD or a Blu-ray. So I think it just broadens the way that we can start to use this technology.
A quick question: does anybody here use a mobile device to control their television now? And does it work? Are you liking the way it works? Change your life?
Absolutely.
And are you? I know some people are using it to set the DVR away from home. Are you doing that?
In the sports bar, dishes up on my iPad, and I can't see my team on TV.
Yeah, great. And you? What do you love about it?
How it interacts with TiVo, and
Yes.
then I've lost my Apple TV remote before, and I'm like, here.
Right. I mean, so I encourage you all when you go home, look and figure out what services you can use and what apps you can download on your phone to start controlling this. So many of the different cable providers offer different services. There's some sort of universal systems for you to use, but this is absolutely where we're going. So I encourage you all to try and get there as quickly as you can.
And I would say that for all of the things that we're going to show you today, if you want to understand them better and really start to think about how to use them, download them yourself, start playing with them yourself so you can really understand what the benefit would be to a general user. That may also help guide your thinking.
Okay, number 2. This is really important. The spot is just an invitation to the party. Okay, the 30-second spot is we can't only think about that as the beginning and the end of the story. That isn't the party. It's a freaking short party. That's all we're doing. And say, okay, you saw the beginning of this. We wrapped it up, and you're on to the next advertiser. We need to be thinking about where the real party is. Okay, there's a chance for us online to create really great experiences that are fun, that are shareable, that are that bring people together. And so one interesting example that happened recently, and we talked to a couple, is we'll just break this out. You guys, anybody see the commercial? What was it, 2 weeks ago for Outback Steakhouse? They gave away 1 million free steaks. Okay.
Yes.
So the interesting thing there is that they put up one commercial. It wasn't about the commercial. I mean, in order to interact with this, you had to go to the party, which was online. Okay, go to 1millionfreesteaks.com, right? I believe. And at that point, you had to enter some quick information. But if you did, you got a free steak. I mean, this isn't like a coupon for $1 off a steak. You got a free steak, and this was to promote the fact that they have a new grilling style, new wood grilled steaks. So I did this. I saw the spot. I jumped on it, and not only did I spend I saw 30 seconds on television, but then when I went online, I filled in my information. I saw a little bit of entertainment there. I shared, then when I got it, I shared with other people to say, "Yo, I got the steak," and lots of other people were doing that because it was, it ties into this idea that I knew this first, and I wanted to be the one that everybody knew. Yeah, I heard it from Adam Albrecht. You got free steak, so there's a little competition to that. Sharing it on Facebook and Twitter, and there's some interesting statistics that we tracked on this.
Yeah, so we we saw over 14,000 mentions on Twitter, 16,000 Facebook comments, and we were actually able to grow their Facebook page by over 19,000 fans.
So did they play the commercial on TV and drive people to the Facebook page? Or did
They drove
did.
to a landing page
Landing, yeah,
that
right.
was connected to the Facebook page. But I really think it speaks to how television can really drive earned media, especially if you're running some kind of exclusive program or an interesting promotion. You can start to see how these things are linked and connected. And we'll speak about this a little bit later, but I also think it really drives home the point that people are using social networks while they're watching television. And using that as a place to speak about what they're seeing and what they're viewing.
Yeah, and make no mistake that there's no better way to get to a mass audience quickly than television. So to be able to, so all the experience that even though the great experience was happening online, the only way to invite all that millions of people to the party is through television.
Well, considering that they were giving away 1 million steaks, I mean, I could be kind of like thinking in my head that it's an overestimation, but only growing their fan base by about 20,000 seems a little bit like, I mean, I would be expecting a little bit higher.
Yeah, I don't think that I agree with you on that. I don't think that the Facebook fan count was their ultimate goal. They're looking to get
Yeah, people obviously in the restaurant, and obviously they're not just going to order steak. They're going to order,
That's right.
the
That's right.
complete meal.
And of course the PR opportunity around
Yes.
that is immense.
I would also say that many of the people that participated were already fans of the brand, so it was
Mhm.
really about building fan advocacy amongst people who frequent their restaurants. I think that's important to keep in mind when you're running something like this, is that you're going to be hitting your current customers as well as some new customers. And I would also say that to me it's about being in all of these places, not just one and expecting to gain traction or movement in one. You got to let people interact with your brand wherever they choose to interact. So many people may have chosen not to engage with the brand on Facebook, but now see the website as a relevant place to continue to go and get information.
Yeah,
And website traffic was actually astounding. I don't even know if we have the numbers back from that, but it was well into the millions.
I totally agree. I was just wondering, perhaps, is there an opportunity for their Facebook presence to be like a better experience that way? Perhaps they could better engaged, and just knowing that 1 million steaks, that's gonna probably, I would want to become a fan. I mean, just me personally, if I was interested in that promotion, that's all I'm saying.
No,
Absolutely.
valid point. Another note though on this is that now if you're another way to think about this is that you don't have to just give away stuff. This doesn't have to be just hey, give away 1 million steaks. That'll get a lot of people talking and buzzing. But I think that the takeaway is that we can look at this almost from a movie trailer model. Okay, so you look at a movie trailer on TV, you get 30 seconds. Well, that wasn't the story. They're just trying to drive you into theater to buy a DVD to get the rest, to get the rest of it. And I think that from a digital perspective, that's a great way for us to be thinking. We build a great experience online, and then we put the movie trailer to put it together, and that's what we are on television.
Next, we're just going to look at, incentives, as we know in advertising, always drive interaction and engagement. But we're starting to see some brands use incentives in a very different way in regards to television. So I don't know if any of you saw the recent campaign that Whopper did. It was called the Whopper Lust campaign. They basically had a partnership with DirecTV where they flashed something on the bottom of the screen that said go to channel 111 and view this commercial. Basically all it was literally a burger spinning on a grill. And if you watched
flames,
for
and flames.
If you watched for 5 minutes, you got 1 free coupon. If you watched for 10, you got 2. If you watched for I think 30, you got 3. And they would actually check to make sure you were viewing by asking you to press the up or down button on your remote. So the concept is great. I think the execution could have probably been a little more engaging and interesting. But honestly, the biggest challenge to this promotion specifically is that they were tapping into this instantaneous desire for people to want a burger. They were showing it to you on the screen. It makes you kind of hungry. But then the way that you actually redeemed the coupon was they sent it to you in the mail. So they really missed out on an opportunity to continue with that instantaneous element of tapping into people's desire and being able to send them a coupon right to their phone. They can literally get in their car, go to a Burger King and redeem it. At the time that we were able to get any numbers for this, they'd actually logged, I think, over 300,000 minutes of viewership and had sent out 50,000 coupons, but not a single coupon had been redeemed because they were all in the mail. So again, if you're thinking about an engaging, interactive experience, think about following that through all the way to the end. Don't stop just at the point where you're actually handing the coupon over. There's lots of mechanisms now for us to be able to just continue with that instantaneous type interaction. But overall, an interesting campaign. It'll be interesting to see how much their redemption rates actually come in at.
I love the fact that they basically turned this into an eye test. You know, you just stared at it when it gave you, prompted you to react. You had to react, otherwise you're out of the game.
So we've talked already a little bit about the way that people are using mobile, the fact that you can use your tablet as a remote control, and I think that there are real benefits to starting to think about how do we create these experiences that include dual device usage while people are watching TV. And when we really look at the usage numbers, we start to see how much of an opportunity there really is out there. So 82% of people actually primarily use their tablets at home. This is one way that mobile behavior and tablet behavior actually differs greatly. Mobile usage is often outside the home when we're thinking about mobile web. So tablets really are a home device and something that we should consider as a way to interact in the living room. 62% are using their tablets more frequently at night, and 69% are using them more frequently during the week, which basically tells us that they're using them during prime time television viewing hours. There's a huge correlation there, and as advertisers and brands, we really should be taking advantage of that more and creating some types of dual experiences that can be used on both devices. So there's actually a great example of a content provider doing this, where Grey's Anatomy has a great iPad app, and they actually partnered with Nielsen on this, so that's really interesting from a tracking perspective and how we start to measure ratings. The way this app works is you open it up while you're watching Grey's Anatomy. You can actually watch it live or DVR'd, it doesn't really matter. What it does is that it starts listening to the audio of the show, and then at specific points throughout the show, it pops up content and interactive content. So it's sometimes behind the scenes footage, polls, quizzes, all kinds of really engaging content.
Bios.
Yeah, bios, you know, really anything you can think of, photos. They can push any type of content, but think about it as a brand partnering with the show and being able to trigger content when your advertising actually plays against your television buy, and how valuable that becomes, especially, you know, again, you think you're on an iPad, there's an easy purchase functionality obviously that goes along with that, and so just really easy ways that we can start to integrate, again, just interesting content into an interactive experience on the tablet.
Yeah, you know, the idea of then having, while your television, while your commercial plays during the show, to be able to sync up content on this pad that goes into deeper detail or shows, gives you a special feature or something of that nature related to the Spire, and provides all kinds of examples. I would love as a competitor to jump in and track to somebody, one of my competitors' spots and give an experience here on the panel. I'm sure that the sales team at ABC would be happy with that.
Probably not. And then when we talk about mobile devices, so 29% of people are actually talking on the phone while they're watching TV. I know I've done it myself. And 72% of people overall are using text messaging regularly, which I don't think is a surprise to any of us. But 26% of people are actually texting while they're watching television. A lot of that conversation is about the shows that they're watching. There also is a large number of people using IM, both on their phones and on traditional PCs. So how do we tap into this conversation as a brand? How do we start to really make it relevant? And can we track it in an interesting way to really give us some interesting information as well? And this is an example of a brand that actually used check-ins during a commercial.
Yeah, so Pepsi Max. Has anybody seen that baseball spot that Pepsi Max is running now with the Field of Dreams, my man Raleigh Figure? But they ran a test. Okay, so this is what advertisers need to do now: run tests and see what works and what gets traction. So they during this commercial, they partnered with, if not forward to the, sorry.
No.
The Into Now app, where when the spot airs, if you check in using this app, you got a coupon for a free bottle of pop. I say pop. And so they said, so as a test, they said, we're going to give away 50,000 bottles, 50,000 coupons. And some interesting notes here is that because they're also using this audio fingerprinting, they could tell whether or not when you checked in, you were watching it live, whether you were watching it on DVR, or whether you were watching it on YouTube. You know, so this provides for, you know, it's really interesting because for so long, you know, our commercials, when we run a commercial, it's kind of one-way communication. You throw it out there and you hope somebody saw it. You know, Nielsen might tell you that people saw it, but you don't know did they really catch it. But with this, you're checking in and saying, yeah, I saw your commercial. You know, and so there's some great learnings that we as marketers will be able to tap into based on this two-way communication.
And you know, there's actually lots of different content checking services out there. So obviously we're all aware of check-in services like Foursquare, which really allows you to check into a place. But the concept of check-in has started to evolve and has started to include this idea of being able to check into not just television shows and movies, but a concert, a play, music. So really just looking at entertainment as a category overall. And then thinking about you know, targeting. If you know someone is watching a specific type of show and they may be more inclined to purchase your product, again, the mobile phone gives you a mechanism for being able to target them with specific messaging, which I think is really interesting. A lot of the questions we get around check-in services, and I will say that the usage of any check-in service, regardless of whether it's location-based or content-based, is still relatively small. But we are seeing massive growth, specifically in the content check-in industry. So GetGlue is one of those services. Last month they had over 11.7 million check-ins, which I think is pretty amazing. That's 800% growth over last year. You see that certain shows do really well. True Blood obviously has a cult following. About 40,000 people checked into the premiere. And then things like Shark Week are also doing really well. So, you know, again, there are ways for brands to start to tap into this if we know the type of shows that people are actually viewing, and hit them with really specific messaging.
I also think that this overcomes a bit of the limitations of location-based check-ins because I also like to call these, you know, the burglary apps. You know, obviously I try, you know, I was playing with a number of these to understand how they work, and then I abandon them because I have small children and a wife at home, and I don't want people to know that I'm not there. This is a really good way for marketers to be able to reward people and for you to be able to check in and show the things that you're participating in that have nothing to do with, you know, being away from home.
Just a quick question about the Pepsi check-in.
Yeah.
Was that limited to one network? Was that across all networks? And how did they pull all that together?
Yeah, so they limited the check-in. Like I said, they limited it to 50,000 views. So this was this was a part of their baseball sponsorship. Major League Baseball. So it was happening during those games. So essentially, yeah, exactly. So essentially, as soon as the 50,000 were gone,
Got it.
they were off the hook. I'm not sure if they followed up on that and said, you know, and gave some other feedback to people who checked in after 50,000.
Thanks.
So there are also lots of companies out there that are developing applications specifically for interaction with television. There's lots of them out there, and we're just going to talk about one of them right now. This company, Mogo, I believe they're actually based here in Atlanta. And they have a bunch of different applications you can play with. You can see it's still pretty rudimentary, the type of executions that we're looking at. But for instance here, you can see that someone obviously doesn't like Miley Cyrus, and they decided to throw a tomato at the screen, a digital tomato at the screen. So again, just looking at interaction.
Yeah, just to give a quick breakdown, this is something, you know, so as you're watching this programming, this is, you know, a random assortment of content. You know, you're able to, from your phone to throw a tomato, gunshot, flower, that's really nice. Hey, yeah, hey Miley, I don't like that song, I'm taking it a little too seriously. But you can put stars or kisses on it, bricks. But the point isn't that, you know, the cuteness of this isn't the point. The idea is that in the same way that you have apps for your mobile device, for your tablet, televisions are going to have apps. Okay, they're going to be everywhere. And actually, the thing that's more interesting about an interactive television app is that unlike, when you think about where you get your apps now, you're seeking them out, right? You're going, you're going to the app store, sorting through, figuring out what you want. Maybe somebody told you about something to look for. But with interactive television, they're going to be able to, they will push them to you. So you're watching programming and say, hey, here's an app to take advantage of now. That, so we can customize and make apps for our own brands. So it's going to open up a whole new world of interaction, and it's really going, and it's something that we as marketers will be able to take, and we'll be able to tailor to the things we're trying to promote ourselves.
And actually, most IPTV platforms have some kind of application offering and bundling already. So I think it really behooves brands to get in there up front and start to think about what kind of utility or entertainment can I provide, and are there a couple of these actual hardware developers that we want to partner with to make sure that we are on these platforms as they start to get into people's homes. Just like anything else, if you can build the behavior of making yourself a primary destination for something online, we can start to do the same thing with television. And not many brands are really taking that step just yet. But I think it's honestly an easy way to leverage. If you have a mobile app, if you have a tablet app, obviously there's development functionality that needs to be changed, but it's a really easy thing to start to leverage. You don't have to necessarily start from scratch if you're thinking about building a television application. So we've all, I think at this point, seen 2D codes. There's a variety of different kinds. QR codes are one form of the 2D code. We actually have some flyers out with the 2D code. Thinking about how we can, again, just use this as a mechanism for getting people to engage with additional content, external of just the 30-second spot or a placement on television. So one execution that was pretty successful was actually for True Blood, for the season 3 premiere. This one was actually interesting because it was almost like a little Easter egg. It wasn't blatant, it was only on the screen for a second. And people watched the promo, and if you caught the 2D code and took a picture of it, it took you to a mobile website where they actually had exclusive content. So also thinking about their fan base and how they were building up that advocacy and basically the rabid nature of their fans, really being able to make this part of a game almost, where did you hear about it, were you quick enough to catch it, did you realize it was there, and then leading them to another really exclusive experience. For most brands, you wouldn't have to be that sneaky about it. I think you could be pretty blatant and just have it on the screen. But again, it just is an easy mechanism for driving people to additional content around the brand or product.
Targeting. I love this. So part of what we're going to talk about is forward-looking here. But one of the things that we have been playing with is the idea of being able to run a commercial locally, drive people online or to an interaction with a mobile device. It could even be a texting program. But then that offers some sort of interesting, very quick, if not immediate, response. Okay, so as an example, say you're a florist. You're a florist. That's a weird thing to say. But yeah, okay, so you're a florist and you want to, it's pre-Valentine's Day, and you want to promote the fact that, even if you forget to order flowers for your Valentine, you've got a name for you to think of. Okay, so imagine we run a television spot for this florist, and we run it locally so that, we're able to target our local audiences. We then are encouraged to go online to register, and it says, the spot would say, we encourage you to go online right now, register, and by the end of the program, you'll get a nice little surprise. Okay? And so we can drive people online, they enter their information, and at the same time, because we know, because we're targeting location, we can have cars already, the app marketer can already have cars full of flowers driving around neighborhoods, and so once they get, once the registrant's information comes in, they can be told to go to a specific home address and ring the doorbell and deliver flowers. Okay. So imagine the immediate nature that you can the immediate surprise and delight you're able to offer customers in that way. You could do the same thing with a pizza company. you see this offer, and suddenly half an hour later you're watching a football game, and before the end of the game, you've got a hot pizza there. And there's lots of ways that this can be, this come to life. Imagine you're for a car company. You run a commercial, and we could have a fleet of cars in a specific area. That if you go and you register, we could show up with the car for a test drive from your house. So it's some very interesting things for us to think about as marketers that I think hopefully will stretch all of our minds to look at new possibilities.
So another thing that we've been playing with, and again, this is technology that is already out there, is really allowing the viewer to decide what part of the commercial they would like to watch and making it really interactive. Again, this is not just possible from a production standpoint, but it is actually possible on IPTVs as well. So the example I'm going to show you is a commercial that's actually online, but I think it will drive home the point of how a user might be able to really engage with this technology. So this is a commercial for Ace Hotels. You can see I'm actually scrolling the camera. So you might need to scroll back over to find the girl, follow her.
Keep following her.
You get a full 360 view of the room. We're on her again. And it kind of continues like that, but again, I think it gives advertisers the ability to really build a narrative into a 30-second spot. If you then obviously take this and put it online, people can see the entire video. What this company has actually found is that the interaction time is really, really high. I think it's something like, I want to say somewhere between 6 and 12 minutes. People are actually spending with this content, and most people are viewing it at least twice because they want to make sure they didn't miss something. And I really think, if you think about a home appliance brand, how you could really use this in an interesting way. You film one commercial in the kitchen, you've got your dishwasher, your fridge, the washer and dryer, and you can have different family members interacting with those devices. And then a user can actually scroll around the room viewing those different interactions. The other great thing about this technology from a production standpoint is that you shoot once, you end up with a full 360 version, and you also end up with multiple individualized spots. I think you could really make an argument to brands and clients that for an incremental cost, they're getting a lot more out of a single shoot. And again, that interactivity of allowing people to really engage with the content. I think there's also the ability then to add in hotspots. So if people wanted to buy a specific product and find out more about a specific product, we can engage in that type of interaction as well.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the action that happens no matter what you do with the camera.
Correct.
So if your camera goes right and the girl goes left, you don't know what happens. And so the more complex we can make these, so that you're actually encouraged to try again and again, as Nicholas said, to find even with more complex camera options, it can create a long period of engagement. Yes. So one interesting thing that we've talked a lot about is that most homes no longer have just one television. I don't know if you knew this, but the TVs aren't often viewed in the same way. Okay, so in an average home, you may have the screen and the television in the family room. You may have one in the kitchen. You may have one in the in the man cave. I really don't like that phrase, but say the rec room, the den, the basement. And so what we can learn is what kind of programs you're typically seeing on these different screens. Okay, so the programming that you're often seeing on the kitchen, which may be driven by the woman, doesn't have to be, could be reversed. I'm totally open to that. Is different than the programming you're seeing, downstairs in the rec room. Okay, so when someone like Ford wants to run a commercial on a program, they can start to take advantage of what television set that advertising is going to run on, and if it's going to run in the kitchen, could be a minivan. It could be, you could afford to pick the spot to run for the minivan. And if it's seen downstairs, maybe it's a sports car or it's F-150. But these are really interesting things for us to think about. That even that we get to a place where even with one buy, we were able to select which commercial we were going to send to that household basically.
And there's currently a TV platform that allows for that?
It's in experimentation. They're starting to play with it. I don't think anyone's rolled it out yet. But again, as an industry, if these are the types of questions we start asking and pushing for, it's more likely that it will come to fruition sooner rather than later.
Because the cable providers, or the content providers are understanding what is being sent and what is being viewed. Then there's something for us all to take advantage of.
So we've been playing around with this idea of really choose your own adventure type interaction. We've seen it obviously on YouTube where you go, you watch a video, it asks you what step you want to take next, you click on something that leads you to another video. Oh no, I'm sorry. Sorry.
We're a great team.
Yeah. So actually this is more about, again, just the idea of personalization and targeting and the ability to really follow what I would consider to be the Hulu model. So you go on Hulu and you're really able to pick which advertisers you'd like to see advertising from. And what we found is that users are 2 times more likely to actually click an ad when they choose it as opposed to when it's chosen for them. I think that same type of behavior can be applied to television. It may not be a click necessarily, but I think we could definitely tie it to, at a minimum, consideration and potentially even acquisition and conversion. But allowing users to actually pick what types of advertisers they would like to see against specific content is another really interesting way to think about using personalization and targeting within traditional television. I would love to see someone start experimenting with this. Again, this is another one that the technology is there, the use cases have not actually been put into play, and I think if we can start experimenting with it, I think there will be some really interesting learnings.
Well, one of the other interesting angles on this is that it really puts the onus on the advertiser to do a great job. Make something useful, make something entertaining, make it interesting, make it informative, make it provocative, and people will want to see more. This kind. I don't think that there's anything any kind of feedback we could get as marketers that would adjust our style faster than an immediate click by somebody we're trying to reach that says, yes, I want to see more like this, or no, within a group of competitors even, I've decided not to see what you do.
Have you seen anybody doing this across competitors? Every time I see this type of thing, it's 3 different minivan ads all for the same minivan. Choose which one you want to see. I want to see minivan.
Right. Yeah. So we think that this is so essentially what you're saying is you'd rather not see the minivan, you'd rather see something more interesting, right?
Well, just you were mentioning, rewarding advertising for being creative.
Right.
The biggest reward or biggest carrot being if it's not, your ad's not going to show.
Right.
But I've only been given 3 side options.
Right.
3 minivan options.
So I would say that it is in the best interest of everyone involved that if you don't care about minivan ads, that we don't show you a minivan ad. So I think that if I'm Ford and I put together a minivan ad and I was really hoping you'd want to see it, but you said no, I'm not interested. I don't want to have to pay for you to watch it. I would much rather step aside and say, hey Miller, have at it. This guy I think wants you. I'm not making any judgments. But I think that as we all look at this more intimately, we will realize that there are opportunities not to waste advertisements on people who really have no interest in seeing it.
I also think that part of that is the way that online video ads are structured right now. So I know for me, I often get the experience where even I may pick the advertiser, but then throughout the show, I've seen the exact same commercial. And I think that just is licensing rights for online. So they'll pick one commercial and decide they want to get the online rights for it. And I think it again is a case of some of this technology being in its infancy, and as an industry, we haven't quite figured out how best to use it. So I would love to see that expand even in the online space and us become a little more inventive with how we actually start to structure our advertising buys around content.
Well, and as a side note to that, there's also a challenge that we're having as advertisers, as agencies, as brands to figure out how do we make sure that we are budgeting it appropriately when we're getting into production, when we're paying talent rights and stuff to make sure that we can run our commercials online. Okay, so these things are all interwoven. I asked many times, why don't we run our television commercials online? No, because there's a cost to that, with talent implications and such. So we all need to be cognizant of that moving forward too. And figure out, should we? Yes, we should be thinking about how to budget for online use. And I can tell you, I've got several clients, and that's just completely cost prohibitive to them.
Which is a huge shift, because about 5 years ago, you could get online rights for about $500. So it shows how quickly the industry has changed.
So an important issue for us all to be wrestling with, figuring out how do we get around this. Because the truth is, as you see with the multiple screens, people are often dealing with, they don't even remember whether they saw that commercial the first time on TV or on their tablet or on their phone, and then when people are going to look for it, if they're not finding it, you've really lost out on an opportunity because you're being sought after at that point and not found. Another thing we like to talk about is user-generated spots. So a couple of well-known examples of this. Probably the best known example is the what Doritos has done with their Super Bowl spots. And I think that this trend is going to continue, and it's something for us all to think strong about for a few reasons. One is it can greatly reduce the cost of the spots you're creating. Okay, so if somebody's willing to create a spot for you for $5,000 and it's really good. Even as the creative cares very much about the success of ad agencies, we would say that that's something to take advantage of. There's also something to seeing the broad range of ideas that that the general public will come up with. I mean, if I'm struggling to figure out what I should do as a brand, and suddenly I get 100,000 people wanting to show me their ideas, I'm pretty happy to have that as well. But there's also a great authenticity to this. And even if you look at testimonials, a strong testimonial that's user generated has a lot of power. There's a brand that we've done some work with called Expo TV that specializes in getting, essentially creating videos that are user generated testimonials. And there's such great power in that I think that's another trend you're going to see a lot more over the next few years, especially as you go into deeper content. Say from your spot to deeper content about people who say, yes, I can really test on this product or service. It's going to be valuable. But of course, the really big upside, especially for something like a Super Bowl spot, is you can get all the buzz you can get generated in terms of PR value and such. That a couple of kids from Indiana made the Doritos Super Bowl spot. There's great traction, great things to leverage in both PR and in the digital space now.
And while I think the Doritos example is definitely the most well-known, probably the most unknown and yet successful example is actually that iPhone commercial. So the very first iPhone commercial that was basically the phone just showing you apps and what the phone can do was actually user-generated. They didn't promote it, they didn't ask the user to create it, he simply created it. People started viewing the commercial online. It got so much traction that Apple actually paid him for it, and then has, to this day, continued with that concept in a lot of their advertising. So, again, some of this, doesn't even have to be prompted. If you're a lifestyle brand or a brand that has a huge amount of advocacy, I guarantee you that there are commercials online that have been created by your users that you may want to think about leveraging, even if it's just from a linkage perspective, linking them to your Facebook page, thanking them. That kind of advocacy is really hard to come by and should be rewarded. Okay, so this is the choose your own adventure stuff.
It's so good, it almost moved up 2 spots.
I'm very excited about this, so I got ahead of myself. But so we have been playing with this concept of choose your own adventure for a really long time. And again, as technology advances, there are a lot of different ways that I'm actually going to show you something that is a movie from Germany. It's a horror movie, but I think you'll start to see how we can start to think about this concept very differently when it comes to television. Make sure it's not too loud.
And crime, the challenge, the audience should experience horror as never before. The idea, the first interactive horror movie in theaters. In regular horror movies, the viewer's role is always the same. With 13th Street, the horror film becomes an interactive thrill. The viewers play their own part and are able to communicate with the protagonist. We develop a software that allows for such a dialogue via voice recognition. A flyer invites viewers to send their phone numbers to a speed dial database. The software selects an audience member and phones him or her. Then, through voice recognition, a dialogue between viewer and protagonist takes place.
Hallo? Hallo? Du musst mir helfen. Ich weiß nicht, wo ich hier bin. Bleib dran, ja? Ja. Okay.
The answers are converted into commands, and the software plays out the corresponding scene. Because of this, each caller creates a different film. Not only do the viewers hear the protagonist's voice on the phone, they experience her steps, her breathing, her entire figure up close, in parallel with the film.
Links oder rechts?
Links.
Soll ich rauf oder runter?
Runter.
Also, da unten ist jemand. Dann geh hoch. Was soll ich tun? Soll ich helfen oder weiter? Weiter!
The film hit its target audience exactly. Film lovers at cinemas and festivals. Last Call captured absolute attention, aroused enthusiasm, and effectively demonstrated the standards of 13th Street.
So you can see there, obviously, they're using some pretty robust technology on the back end, but I can imagine